You're acting like a toddler, Rick. You are making an enemy out of me.
It's not what I intended.
Parker, man.
Yeah, I'm going out mining on my own. I've got an opportunity, and I'm going to take it.
Jeez.
The cast of Gold Rush are old associates all these years later with a lot of shared history together. However, from among the stars of the show, none have as long a history and friendship as Parker Schnabel and Rick Ness. So, when things got difficult for Rick Ness recently, he knew exactly who to turn to for help.
But it's not, it's not the answer for the season. I need something I can rely on. So I'm going to see Parker right now. I heard he just bought a whole nother mine. It's been a few years. I really don't know what to expect here.
None other than his old boss and good friend, gold mining wunderkind, Parker Schnabel. Team Ness is hard at work, but it becomes apparent that Rick requires more crew members if he wants to hit all of his goals for the season. No one else is coming in, adding a lot of pressure to Morgan Lauren, a new member of the team. Another issue that is adding to the pressure is the shabby state of the equipment. Morgan points out that the work would be completed much faster if they were able to bring in some newer equipment. While she concedes that the old rented loader does run and gets the task done, she hesitates to call it efficient or even fully functional. As she explains the issues with the loader, she reveals that it's missing its front cab. This means that she has been eating a ton of dirt, and the massive, powerful tires have been kicking up a storm of sand and dirt into her face the whole time. This issue sounds mostly humorous until one imagines the danger of consuming that much dirt, not to mention the damage caused to the loader by having a ton of dirt getting into the cab and the controls. As Rick and Morgan work, they make a greater dent in the pile of dirt. However, even with their speed and dedication, soon something goes wrong. Morgan exits her loader in concern and notices that something is very wrong with her vehicle. She quickly exits the loader and hurries over to the loader's side, observing that the machine is leaning over in a very precarious manner. After a quick look, she determines that the leaning is being caused by a flat tire. She pulls out her walkie-talkie and contacts Rick, informing him of her need to shut down the plant because of her loader's flat tire. Rick quickly goes over to the wash plant and stops all activity.
Rick brought down the 750 for me, and we flew the 330 up there to do tailings. As long as we can keep this gold rolling up to the plant, that's the only thing that matters.
This is to save money and energy from a machine that can cost him a ton of money if it is not actively separating gold from dirt at all times. Rick is upset and decides that he needs to do whatever it takes to remedy this problem. Finding a replacement loader or a new tire is his first thought. He drives away in his truck, musing over where he has an old loader stored for such an occasion. However, after some consideration, he decides that the loader he has is not going to be the answer to this current problem, since he needs something he can rely on, not to break down. This is where Rick explains that he heard his old boss, Parker Schnabel, just bought an entirely new mine and it came with a ton of equipment with it. The hope Rick has is that the equipment will have a spare motor somewhere that he can use. While he is hopeful that Parker will be able to solve his problem, he is nervous to speak to him as it has been a couple of years since they had any real conversation.
How you been, bud?
Good, how are you?
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too. So you're back.
I'm back.
How are you feeling?
I feel great.
Good.
Yeah.
Rick doesn't know what to expect, but thinks that they'll be able to make a deal. Parker and Rick have a history as deep as any mining operation, having met when Parker hired Rick when he was 17 years old and just starting his career in the gold mining industry. At the time, Parker wasn't the big shot buying multiple million-dollar mines. He had just a small gold claim to his name. However, these early days are critical to the man he would become, and Rick was a crucial component to his success. Rick and Parker worked together and created a deep bond as they rose in experience and achievement those first few years. Rick Ness eventually became Parker's foreman, but not everything was smooth sailing. When their relationship started to get rocky, they said things to each other they couldn't take back. This was a huge turning point for Rick Ness, because he decided that what he really wanted was to strike out on his own. Rick informed Parker that he had received a great opportunity to be his own boss, and he was going to take it, quitting his position as foreman for Parker's crew. It was a difficult parting, and since then, they haven't spoken face to face until today. Rick expresses his excitement to see his old friend again and hopes that Parker will feel the same.
Can you believe that?
How much does that weigh?
That one is 1.54 ounces.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah. Wow.
There is also the issue of Rick's break from gold mining last year, which he is sure Parker already knows about. He wonders if those rumors will change the reception he gets from his old boss. Parker comes down from his loader and immediately makes a joke as he greets Rick. Rick picks up the joke and they share a big laugh, breaking the tension immediately. It feels as though no time has passed at all as they hug. Parker immediately asks how Rick is feeling now that he's back, showing his concern for his health. In a kind move, Parker tells him that he has always had faith that he would survive the hard times and come right back to the business when he was ready. Rick is vulnerable as he admits that he has struggled recently and that looking back, he thinks his best years were with Parker, as he was more productive back then. Parker admits that when he first started as a gold miner with his own claim, he had no idea what he was doing. They bond over how lost they had been at the beginning and how their golden years were spent together. Rick admits that he learned a lot from his time with Parker and that he feels like he's reclaiming some of that youthful energy they had back then, now that he is back and ready to work. Finally, after their sentimental reunion, Parker asks whether Rick has made his way over to catch up or if there is something he needs. Rick immediately admits that of course, he comes all this way because he needs something and prepares to ask for this big favor. Rick tells him that he needs a loader, and Parker immediately tells him that his team inherited a ton of equipment and guides him over to his truck to take a look at all the equipment. When Parker Schnabel bought the Dominion Creek claim, he also purchased everything that was on it. So any tools and machines left behind were included in the purchase.
Okay, sounds good.
We're gonna put Brennan on that end with the 750. I'm gonna keep chewing away down here with the 480, but I got a feeling he's gonna be catching on me pretty fast.
Parker admits that after buying it, he has not even inspected or cataloged everything that came with it. However, the purchase did include $2 million worth of equipment. Rick hops onto the loader on Dominion Creek and starts it up to test its functionality. The sound of the motor passes their quick inspection, and Rick tries to cut a deal right away for the use of the loader. Parker tells him that there will be no deal. Instead, he tells Rick that he hates talking about money, but he especially hates it when it comes to friends. He tells Rick that he can use it, no deal or money exchange is needed. He instead tells him that they can just work it out in the fall. He elaborates that if Rick hits the mother lode, then he will expect a few ounces of gold as rent, but otherwise they're all good. What Parker says is that if the loader helps him, he's happy to lend it. What he truly wants is for Rick to get back on his feet. This is a very humbling moment for Rick, as he realizes that Parker is a true friend to him, even after all their differences. Parker admits that it is a small gesture, but that he hopes it's better than denying him and not mending bridges out of pettiness. Rick is very thankful to him, and Parker suggests that he comes to pick up the loader when the roads clear up a bit. The difficulty of moving the loader may even necessitate bringing a trailer out to move it, but no one is willing to haul such heavy equipment at this time in the season. The problem of transporting the loader over to Rick's claim is overshadowed by the emotional reunion between the two old friends. When Parker is finally alone, he admits that he was surprised to see Rick again, since they have a lot of unspoken history between them. One thing that he is ruminating over is how Rick mentioned that he gave Parker his best years. To Parker, that sounds like crazy talk, because in his mind, Rick Ness has not even reached his best years in the gold mining industry yet. In Parker's eyes, Rick is still very young, only 42 years old. But he understands that perhaps mentally and emotionally the past few years,
we got to keep the ball rolling, so whatever we got to do, right?
Yeah. The reward there is hopefully 30 feet of pay underneath that, right? And good stuff.
have taken a heavy toll on his old friend. He wishes that things would get better for Rick, and that his small favor will be a step in that direction.
Yeah, this is Rick Ness. Yeah, I think you got something of mine. Listen, I know that you took my 10-inch suction line, all right? No, I know. No, hey, listen, you listen. You took something that belongs to me, and I want it back. This
Rick Ness has struggled to make a comeback after taking some personal time off, but now Rick is up against rivals in the area who would see his destruction. He has discovered a neighboring miner stole his only suction line that feeds vital water to his wash plan. Without it, Rick has no hope of getting on the gold. How will Rick face off against thieves? In this cutthroat industry, any wrong move could see his career and life destroyed.
You're not gonna believe this. I found a suction line. Some on the other side of the mountain took it.
Rick is driving down a very muddy and wet road toward his worksite at high speed. He is in a state of emergency. When he jumps out of his truck, he immediately pulls out his phone and tells the person on the other line that he knows they took his 10-inch suction line. He is cursing and arguing and tells the person on the line that he needs to listen. Insistent that he knows they stole his property, he raises his voice and tells them that he needs his stuff back. After asking around, Rick has discovered that a neighboring miner has stolen his only suction line that he desperately needs to get his operation going. Without this vital piece, he cannot pay back his debts or get back on his feet. A wash plant cannot operate without water, and that is what the suction line provides. After his phone call, Rick begins calling out for his best friend, Z, and telling him that he found out a guy on the other side of the mountain took the suction line. Rick explains that his source of information was Kyle, who worked for him last season. According to Kyle, the guy who stole the suction line had been asking around for one, and later, he saw the thief searching around the area where Rick's suction line was left. Z is stunned that anyone would just steal like that. Rick is having a hard time controlling his anger, as he says he cannot stand stealing, and he promises Z that he will get back his suction line. Rick runs to his truck and goes racing toward the neighbor's worksite. On his way there, he comes across a pair of men driving toward him in a big SUV, and he pulls up next to them, both their windows down to communicate. When they disclose their identities, their faces and names are blurred out.
I'll turn around, you can follow me down there.
And we learn that they are not the thief from the phone call. Rick tells them to follow him back to his site. As the two strangers drive around to follow him, Rick turns to the camera and says he knew the thief would not have the guts to see him face to face, so he sent his 2 employees to return the suction line for him. Rick says he is trying to control his anger because he just caught a glimpse of the suction line on the trailer and it is all messed up and smashed. If the suction line is unusable, then he plans to drive straight out to confront the thief in person and knock his teeth out.
I'm trying to keep my together right now because I just saw it on the trailer and it's all up. If this ain't usable, I'm driving straight out there. I'm gonna knock his teeth out.
This entire situation has been testing Rick's patience like nothing ever has before. When he gets out of the truck to examine the suction line more closely, he starts to laugh in anger when he sees the condition of his property.
Are you kidding me? This is ridiculous. It's destroyed.
In an effort to calm down, he goes over to Z to describe the condition of the suction line, describing how even the basket is destroyed. We learn that the hose has been crushed flat, and they use duct tape to try and piece it back together. Rick storms away in anger, and he uses the excavator to remove the suction line and basket off of the truck bed and just lets it clatter to the ground. After that, he yells at the quickly disappearing SUV of the thieves and tells them that he is going to pay a visit to their boss soon.
Tell your boss I'm coming for a visit.
Rick is still fuming, shaking in anger and adrenaline as he stares at the junk they brought him back, and he wonders why they would even send it back when it is clearly unusable. Rick turns to Z and tells him he thinks they should go up there and get a new suction line from the thieves, but Z advises him to calm down and look at things rationally. Rick is stubborn and says that he is owed a new suction line from them and won't let this issue go. Z agrees that they are owed better, but their situation requires them to choose a path that would be the quickest, safest option, and then they can deal with the rest later. Z tells him that he should just ask to borrow a suction line and wait to cool off to deal with the thief. Rick thanks him for his sound advice, and they both get back to setting up their wash plant. After that intense confrontation, Z and Rick get to work, sluicing some stockpiled pay dirt from the Rally Valley cut. The two of them have made quick work of the pay dirt, and things have been going very well for them. As they scoop in the last bit of pay dirt for the day into the wash plant,
we also see the bedrock contact coming in here. And in between, I think, is the paleo channel.
Well, that's perfect.
Rick explains that he's just excited and relieved to see some gold being gathered after too long a journey to even get started. Rick pauses the wash plant and takes a close look to see how much gold is sitting in the box. He finds it difficult to see through the dirty water, and Z thinks there is too much dirt filtering through the plant. And if even he can spot the flaws in their operation, he considers it a very bad sign. A few tense moments pass where neither of the men spots any gold in the wash plant, when finally Z locates a chunk of gold. They bask in a moment of pride and reflect on what a difficult journey it has been to get to this moment. Rick passes Z the first bit of gold they found and says that it's for him to keep, because he's so thankful for his hard work and dedication. Things are looking bright for Rick Ness. Over at Duncan Creek, Rick Ness is on top of the world as he clears overburden out of the creek cut so that he can have a large stockpile of pay dirt constantly feeding his wash plant. He is feeling confident about this because this cut helped them reach their goal last year, and he hopes it will pull them through to their goals this year too. Only 5 weeks into the season, and he has already mined 250 ounces of gold. This is Rick's fastest and most lucrative beginning ever. The only issue he has now is that they are running out of pay dirt from the creek cut. The consistency they've been experiencing will soon run dry. According to Rick, they only have around 4 days worth of pay dirt in the next strip, so to progress, they need to expand their operation and spend more money. As the workers load up more pay dirt for the wash plant, they notice that Rick looks to be ready to announce something. Rick tells his crew that they need to move locations soon and that he has picked out a place upstream, hoping to get similar results.
I hate to make guesses, and I won't, but I will say that it looks good. It looks really good. Like some of the best I've seen it in that box, so.
If the pay streak from the creek cut continues under the 26 acres of frozen ground to the west of them, it could hold over 1,000 ounces in gold. The biggest problem with this plan is that there is permafrost in the area, which means that it has never been mined. However, they have never dealt with permafrost before. They crew decide that they'll use the new dozer to tackle their permafrost problem. This will cost quite a bit of money. The dozer cost $500,000 and burns $2,500 of fuel a day, which amounts to the same operating cost of all of the other equipment Rick owns combined. However, this dozer was built to be able to open up ground with frost points. It pushes 2 rock trucks worth of dirt in one scoop. The dozer weighs over 300,000 pounds and begins to sink into the soft dirt. This causes the operator to slow down and eventually become stuck in the dirt. Rick is called to help pull the dozer out of the deep mud. Rick is worried by this delay because it is necessary for him to keep stripping land, and any delay could cause his entire operation to stop completely. The removal of the dirt begins, and Rick believes that as soon as he digs out all of that soft soil and mud out of the way, the wheels of the dozer will get more traction and allow it to move forward with ease. His focus remains on getting back to work as fast as possible. As Rick digs, he and Brennan coordinate to avoid any collisions between the two massive machines. Rick manages to remove the last bit of mud, and the dozer is free. The quick rescue leaves them in good spirits, and they hurry to get more pay dirt ready. We hope you enjoyed some of Rick's best moments on Gold Rush. Thanks so much for watching. If you want more content like this, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update.
There's 40, going 50, awesome. 60, 70. No way. 82.37.